This is Jilliana Ranicar-Breese, and I'm back with Roger Cowdrey, who in fact is going to talk about failure, which is a bit unexpected. Okay, this is part 3. Go ahead, Roger.
Well, it's interesting. One of the first lectures I used to do in university was called Failure is an Option, because I'm a great believer in actually trying to get people to recognize that you can learn a lot from failures.
And your mistakes.
And yes, if you actually, provided you don't keep doing it over and over again, then, you can learn from
bit like marriage.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this whole concept of risk and possible failure fits in with entrepreneurship very, very well. And there are some great cases of people that failed. I when I do the lectures, show some examples. For example, Abraham Lincoln, who you would see as a reasonable president, but he was absolutely lousy soldier. He's the only person I know that entered the army as a captain and left it as a private. He was that bad as a soldier. So, I mean, you've got to be some to go for in at the top and come out at the bottom. But also people like Oprah Winfrey, who was told she didn't have a face for television. Then there was...
Who was she told by?
The television company she was working for, they fired her because they said she didn't have a face for television.
She probably owns it now.
Yeah. But also Walt Disney, who was fired from his first job because he wasn't creative enough, which is quite entertaining. But the lovely story I like about failure is Sarah Blakely, who invented Spanx, because Sarah had a father who would sit down at dinner on a Friday night with her and her brother and say, what have you failed at this week and what have you learnt? So she said, I never feared failure. So when I invented this piece of fashion, everybody said, all the people in the industry said, you've either got to go to the spring show or the autumn show, and that's where the buyers will be, and that's the only time we get. And she said, why don't I just knock on their door? And so she knocked on Neiman Marcus's door, and they said, yeah, we'll have it, and because...
And what was it she was selling?
Spanx, which is a sort of support underwear for ladies, which holds your lumps in. And
plenty of those in America.
She's become very famous across the world with it. And,
really?
Yes, and she's probably I think she's the youngest billionaire.
Wow.
Entrepreneur from this. But she said she was never afraid to sort of go and knock on doors when everybody said, no, you have to wait. And the other story I love is most people know the cans of WD-40, which is a spray which people spray on their car engines to stop dampness and things like this.
American?
It originally came from there, but it's all over the world. You can even buy it in Turkey.
Okay.
It was originally developed for the Atlas rocket to stop condensation on the rocket. And then they decided there was a potential for it to have a domestic use. And most men in England, I will guarantee, know WD-40 and how to get it from Halfords or whatever, right? But the lovely thing about WD-40 is WD stands for water displacement. But going back to your comment about marketing, water displacement's not a really catchy title, so they just called it WD.
Right.
And the 40 is because the first 39 attempts did not work.
40. Okay, yes.
So it took them 40 attempts to actually get the product right. So they called it WD-40.
Right.
Which again, and this willingness to have a go. I mean, Richard Branson, everybody raves about, but he's had as many failures as he's had successes. But I mean, Edison with the light bulb.
Yes. Yes.
He never
he
said,
was told he was stupid in school, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Or
but
his mother was told or something.
But he was one of those that would try all sorts of things. I mean, he has some awful patents. I mean, the concrete piano never took off. But, even the light bulb, it took him 10,000 attempts to get that right, but he never said I failed.
Sounds like an Irish joke.
No, he never said I failed. He said, I have found 9,999 ways that don't work. You know, and you keep doing and you modify, keep going and you modify. I was listening to some young people last night who are responsible for a project at the university to make a racing car. And they only just managed to, the University of Brighton just about came on a par with Sussex University last year. Their objective this year is to make a faster car, a better car. Right, and they will take what they've learned from last year and they will improve it this year. And it's that ability to learn from what you did and why didn't it go faster and so on.
What about yourself, Roger? What have you learned from your mistakes in life?
I suppose...
We've all made mistakes in life.
I always tell people I haven't.
Well, that's not true.
You know, because there has to be one of us that's great. But no, but then my wife hits me and brings me back down to earth. I suppose throughout my life, I am sure there are things that didn't go the way that that they should have done, or I did things wrongly and I've upset people. They don't spring to mind? No, because what my attitude to it is, I don't spend my time looking back and saying what went wrong, because whatever it was that happened prior to today is what gets me to here. So I don't dwell on the fact.
No, I'm not suggesting that you would.
You know, what I'm inclined to do is to say, well, okay, anything that happened in the past, whatever it was, it's made me who I am today. I actually quite like me as now. There were times in my life when I didn't. I thought I was a bit of a rogue or a bit of a... and there are things where, you were perhaps nasty to people where you shouldn't have been nasty to people and so on.
So what do you like about yourself today?
I'm content. I have a wonderful wife. I have a wonderful life. I do the things I want to do. I can write my books. It's not that I can lecture. It's not that I can write books. It's not that I can do consultancy. It's much more that I can still make a difference. When I can walk into a room and somebody can say, like they did on Monday, thank you, that was motivational, then I'll keep doing it. And it's the fact I can still make a difference in people's lives that is the important thing to me. People talk about my job as in business, in IBM, in teaching, but no, people say to me, you're in business. And I say, no, I'm not. I'm in people. And I really feel I've got to that point in my life where I am in people, I am helping people, and consequently I will keep on helping people. And, the next job is potentially on the horizon that came through last night. The next book is on the way.
How many books have you written?
I've written 2 so far. One is called Creating an Entrepreneurial Mindset, where you encourage people to become more entrepreneurial. And it has some very simple exercises to get you back to being creative.
Yes.
My favourite is to go home and draw an alien. And the reason I asked them to go and draw an alien is because it's the one thing they can't fail at. Because nobody can tell you that's not an alien, right? Because they've never seen it, right?
And the second book?
The second book is called The Alternative Business Model, which takes my knowledge of Turkey and the way they work cooperatively rather than competitively as a means of doing business.
Well, we're going to talk about Turkey in part 4? Part 4. Right. Thank you very much, Roger.